Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, Feasting on the Word, and I've got some thoughts on my mind that I wanted to share with you today. It's Sunday. I had a really good day at church, which I needed. This was not a particularly good week for me. I haven't made much in the way of content in the last couple of weeks. I've had a lot going on with me, and this past week was particularly a lot and stressful. I don't know how much I've talked about it on here. I don't remember, but I've got some PTSD from my 22 years I spent in law enforcement, and particularly some shootouts that I was in fairly early in my career, and it doesn't get better. And some days and some weeks are really good, and occasionally I'll have a time that's a little rough. And things kind of came to a head for me a couple of days ago. And this applies to today, my time at church. But it covers more than just a day or a week. So I live here on the family farm where I grew up, and I now operate this farm, and it's good for me to have the animals and to work with them. They don't generally talk back. My cows and my sheep know me. They come to me. It relaxes me. About 2 years ago, somebody who is close to me wanted to have some of the duties of taking care of some of my animals here. And even though it's one of the things that really keeps me centered, I allowed them to do that with the understanding that the animals would be cared for in a particular way, because I have been trying to implement some regenerative practices on my farm, and this was important to me. And they read or heard something about a particular way of caring for animals that was different than what I wanted, and so it had caused I don't know if I'd say conflict, but we had spoken about it. I had spoken about it to them on 3 different occasions, and one of those was a fairly lengthy discussion. I know I'm probably boring you to death. I'm sorry for the lengthy explanation, but it kind of goes to my mindset, and I could tell that it was going to get contentious, so I gave in after 3 times and let them care for those animals the way that they wanted. The problem with that for me was that for the last 2 years, every day, I've had this, it's been a source of irritation for me every day. Because when my father asked me to start taking care of this farm, I had a vision for it, and this didn't fit in with my vision and what I really wanted. All this came to a head a few days ago because something that happened, and I blamed it on the way that this person was caring for these animals. And really, realistically, it probably had nothing to do with it. But what came boiling over out of me was 2 years of frustration. Now, I'm not saying that. I want to make sure you understand. I'm not blaming the other person. I blame myself, even for my annoyance and the frustration I felt over the last 2 years, because I should have done more. I should have been more forceful and not avoiding the confrontation, maybe having a little bit, or perhaps just taking that duty back myself would have avoided this frustration for the last 2 years. But it made me think today in church, especially as I was sitting there during the sacrament. It was quiet, it was reverent, and you could feel the Spirit. And I hadn't really felt like I was in a place where I should partake of the sacrament. And I was surprised at how strongly I felt the Spirit in that moment, even though I watched the sacrament go past me. And it was brought to my mind a memory, the story that we all, or most of us at least, know from church history about the 116 pages, and how Martin Harris wanted to take the manuscript to show to his wife, and how Joseph Smith went to the Lord and inquired multiple times until the Lord gave in. And all of that made me think about myself and some real internal reflection, some introspection into my own life, and what things am I doing, or what things have I been doing that perhaps the Lord wouldn't be pleased with and might be causing him some frustration. Because I'll tell you, I am far from perfect. I have a lot of flaws. My family here can tell you I have a lot of flaws. And so as I've thought about this all day, there are some things in my life that I really need to work on. What's the next thing, and what's next in this constant quest for improvement. And there are some parts of me that I think I've really been overlooking that needs improvement. Why do I say all of this? I don't know if there's anybody else out there that feels like I do, but I felt like I should share this with you. Why are we here? Why did the Lord send us here? And why was there a fall? And why do we have to deal with imperfection in ourselves? And sometimes in others, But today I am making a commitment, or recommitment, to myself and my Father in heaven, and to those around me who have to deal with me, to work on some of these aspects that are really lacking and where I'm really weak, so that I can feel the Spirit better, more completely, more frequently. And so I can be closer to my Heavenly Father and closer to those here around me. The gospel is true. The plan of salvation is true. I have a testimony. The Book of Mormon is true. There's a reason we're here. All of this stuff, all this around me. This didn't happen. Wasn't just some happenstance. It's all part of the bigger picture. It's our job to figure out what we can do to bring ourselves more aligned with God's will and His plan and the reason that all this and we were created. Thank you for listening for a minute. I hope to see you real soon. I love y'all.